Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Maedhbh, obviously for those of you who don't know me. I'll just take you through some quick insights. So for context, we quite frequently get asked by you guys, how are you doing compared to similar Wolfgang clients? So to help answer this question, what we've done is essentially collated data from all of your accounts to try paint a picture of what happened in 2023 in retail. So we primarily relied on Google Analytics for this, although we also, of course, dipped into the ad platforms too, primarily Meta and Google Ads. The data set ended up coming to over 200 million in sessions and over 500 million in revenue across 2023 and 2022, so pretty sizable. And as you can imagine, there's a ton of different metrics and channels we could look at from there, but in the interest of time today, we're just going to focus on the overarching picture of what happened, and then I'm going to pull out a couple of key insights from two of the core channels, which are Google Ads and Meta. Cool. So first things first, did retail experience growth in 2023? So in a short answer, yes. So across our data set, retailers recorded a median growth level of 7% year on year in terms of online revenue in the Irish market. So for comparison, we've also included here on the right a stat from CSO. So this is the average retail sales growth reported by the CSO for 2023 in Ireland. So that was 4.4%. So by this benchmark, overall, Wolfgang clients are doing pretty good, seeing a growth level of 7% versus 4.4%. Cool. So before we delve into the channels behind this growth, I think it's very important to address the elephant in the room when it comes to Google Analytics, and that is the absolute challenge that we've had of recent in terms of reporting. And of course, that relates to the Google Analytics migration from UA to GA4 that most of you guys have underwent over the past couple of years. So that essentially means trying to compare data across two vastly different analytics versions. Given that GA4 is fundamentally different to UA in terms of how it records and stores data, it's really important for us to just kind of, I guess, realize that these couple of years are going to be a bit of a transition period, whereby the data is not going to be perfect. But regardless of that, we still think that there's some good insights that can be gleaned from GA4 data for 2023. So on that note, this table here shows all of your analytics accounts, the channel split of revenue for 2023, what it looks like. We've also included a comparison with 2022, and then as well, we've got the 2019 data in here too, just to give you a view of what things look like pre-pandemic as well. So I'm just going to pull out a few top line observations. Firstly, it's kind of surprising to see that across the data set, email's not making up a bigger chunk of revenue over the years, particularly when we consider how important we know email has become as a part of our marketing mix in terms of driving revenue. We know that you guys who are running email strategies are seeing really significant growth from a year-on-year perspective, but the fact that it makes up such a small portion of the overall picture would imply that for a lot of you guys it's still massively underutilized. Email is like such a strong channel for driving retention, loyalty. It operates completely without cookies, and it's not vulnerable to expensive paid media clicks, so investing properly in it at this stage we would say is a complete no-brainer. A couple of observations as well from the search channels. So we can see that since 2019, organic's contribution to the revenue mix has declined somewhat, and in line with that, PPCs has increased. We would say there's definitely a pandemic impact at play here. You guys will be familiar with the massive uptick in e-commerce and search demand that occurred during the pandemic. And alongside that, we did see retailers kind of flock to the Google Ads space to really quickly scale up and capitalize on that massive increase in demand that was for the taking. So of course, in line with that, we did see PPC revenue increase significantly over the years. And this may have partly absorbed some of organic's revenue too. I think it's really important to remember that even though we are still seeing strong PPC performance for most of you guys, investment in PPC should never be at the expense of your organic strategy, and that's particularly when we consider the kind of upcoming changes that we're going to be seeing in organic pretty soon in relation to generative AI. So you basically just need to make sure your SEO strategy is ready for that, and that's something that Caitlin will speak to shortly. Cool, so now looking at the channels more specifically in terms of the growth. So Google Ads had a great year. CPCs did increase over the data set, so up 4% year on year, but that was from an increased investment level of 12% year on year. So that efficiency there helped contribute to 18% growth in Google Ads revenue year on year across the set. So pretty strong performance. In terms of the factors behind this, we had full year of Performance Max to assess how the campaign type performed. So of course those of you who run PPC will know that Performance Max is Google's most automated campaign type, and with high levels of automation you would expect a strong CPC efficiency, which we did indeed see. Another key factor of Performance Max is that it utilizes all of Google's ad placements. So rather than just showing in the shopping results, you're also present on search, video, the Google Display Network and more. And what that means is, to a degree, you're going to see Performance Max alleviate some of the pressure on those competitive shopping placements. Cool. So speaking of competitive shopping placements, we aggregated data from all your shopping auctions during Q4 for those of you live on PPC to try see if we could pull out some high-level competitor trends. So this visual here, it's very cute, thanks Jen, shows the percentage of our clients who were basically felt the heat of these three massive retail giants. So Temu came out top. It competed with 100% of you guys during Q4. Well done, Temu. And that was outranking even Amazon, who competed with just 96% of you guys, and then eBay in third place. So the teaming effect is pretty crazy when you consider like the breadth of categories that you guys all operate across. So, you know, we've got luxury, fashion, beauty, pet supplies, pharmacies, more in the room, and not a single one of you guys escaped the impact of Temu during Q4, and considering how new they are as well, that's really significant. So I guess, before I move on to the next slide, just to note as well, Shein, you guys will know about Shein, another very significant competitor in Q4 too. They came in competing with about 78% of you guys, but of course if we were just to isolate our fashion clients, then this number would be even higher. Cool. So what does this mean? Of course, in a landscape where you've got high levels of competition, we are going to expect there to be an impact on our ad costs. But even more so than that, I think it's really important to consider the impact of a competitor like Temu that sells a cheaper alternative for absolutely everything in the world in a landscape where we know customer loyalty is already at an all-time low. So this is particularly the case across younger demographics. So Gen Zs are said to be more open to other brands than any other demographic. And of course, we would expect younger demographics to be more, price sensitive, more likely to go for a cheaper brand. But alongside this, there's also been this real kind of change in mindset around value seeking and around finding, a knockoff or a duplicate, a cheaper duplicate. And that is that, older demographics might have gone for, the cheaper knockoff, but they might not have necessarily broadcasted it. Whereas with Gen Zs, there's this real kind of mindset around finding cheaper alternatives being a very kind of savvy life hack and something that you're going to celebrate and share on social media. So the word dupe, for those of you who are not familiar with it, means duplicate, and specifically in retail it means like a cheaper alternative of a brand or a product, and it's really widely used in the fashion and beauty space in particular. So this graph here is from Google Trends. It shows that search interest in dupe has been increasing really, really significantly over the past 5 years in Ireland, actually spiking and peaking in Q4 of 2023 there. The term dupe, or the hashtag dupe, also has over 7.1 billion views on TikTok and counting, which is insane. So on TikTok, if you go over there, you'll find entire creator accounts that are dedicated to helping people find duplicates of their favorite brands and products. So it's pretty huge. So I guess in this environment where we know customer loyalty is at an all-time low, competition's at an all-time high, unless you're really actively working to drive loyalty and retention, you basically run a massive risk of losing customers to the next competitor who pops up in the shopping results with a more compelling price point. So loyalty and retention essentially has become more important than ever. Cool. So now quickly looking at YouTube, this graph here shows the percentage of you guys who are opted into YouTube strategies. We can see that YouTube activity opt-in has been increasing over the years, particularly stepping up for 2023. But it's important to note that YouTube still makes up an absolutely tiny proportion of everyone's PPC budgets, so on average it's about 3%. We would definitely see this as a bit of a lost opportunity. Like YouTube is such a cost-efficient way of driving upper funnel awareness, and I think even more so than this, it's important to think about those competitive shopping auctions that we just saw. YouTube is a great chance to basically influence the user before they start the search aspect of their journey. So by getting in there early, you're alleviating some of the pressure that's put on those shopping auctions. Cool. So this is Meta performance for last year. So those of you running Facebook campaigns will know Meta had a great year. CPCs were down across the data set of by 22% year on year, and that was from an increase in investment of 3% year on year. And as a result of that, we saw a massive improvement in Meta revenue, so up 55% year on year. So the reason behind this was similar enough to Google, and Meta's kind of refocused and started to really invest in its AI-driven ad tech. So it released Advantage Plus, which is essentially Meta's answer to performance max, meaning that it's a highly automated ad type. And the impact on performance for our clients and everywhere really has been really phenomenal. As well, it's quite interesting to see this increased performance from Facebook when we consider it wasn't too long ago that we were a little bit concerned about Facebook. Facebook was a bit of a problem child in the marketing mix, especially around 2021 when that update from Apple that we will not speak about, but it basically meant that iOS users were opted out of ad tracking, and anyone who runs Facebook campaigns is going to remember what a completely traumatic time it was, where performance just kind of fell off a cliff. But never mind, we've seen a bounce back here. But I guess on that note, what's really important to consider is that any time like an ad platform releases a really great new piece of ad tech like this Advantage Plus campaign, we're going to see, of course, improvements in performance, but that inevitably will plateau over time as this Advantage Plus campaign type becomes the new norm. So when that happens, or ahead of that happening even, it's really important for us to kind of consider, like, what are you going to do to remain competitive once everyone starts leaning into AI, and what else can we do to differentiate? So we believe that the answer to that lies in creative strategy. More specifically, how you can use creative as an optimization lever in your campaigns, and that's something that Killian's going to talk you through later. Cool, so I'll just wrap up with a few key takeaways. So yeah, as we saw, strong performance from the ad platforms for 2023. But the landscape is not steady. Things have been really volatile the past few years, and there's only more changes on the horizon. So we've got the Chrome cookie deprecation coming up for 2024, which is going to have a further impact in our paid campaigns. And with that in mind, it's just really important that you guys continue to think about future-proofing. And of course, that means honing in on and expanding your first-party data and just making sure that it's at the heart of all your digital strategies. Secondly, as I mentioned, it's important that we start thinking right now about how we stay competitive and not get complacent, not let AI pick up all the optimization work. And for us, we think that means thinking about creative and what part it plays in your strategy. And then lastly, we're in a landscape of high competition, low customer loyalty. And with that in mind, it's more crucial than ever to think about how you're going to really drive your optimize your retention and loyalty strategies. And that's something that Brendan and Michaela are going to take you through now. Cool.